they say all men are created equal.
Shot! Master!
I'll pull out the Glock. Full of suffering, succotash, son.
It's one of your nuts hanging out of your shorts.
Real glass! You have a father, but your father's dead.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Too Sweet podcast. Very exciting episode today. We've got double or nothing to go through and review. So, I mean, the build-up for this we thought was excellent. In our review of Dynamite last week, we made our predictions. We had a lot of the same predictions. Mainly the main event was where we differed, so we'll get into that when we get to it, but that's very exciting. So, Estelle, I mean, how are you feeling? I know we've both recently just finished watching it. How are you feeling immediately afterwards?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty. I feel like about halfway through, I was like, I've got a rating in my head, and then by the end of the show, I felt pretty vindicated in that rating, and we'll get to that to the end. But I feel like, yeah, it definitely deserves a higher rating. But yeah, it's just like a lot to unpack, and we've both watched it today, so it's very different coming on the podcast when you've just watched it rather than watching it live and having the next day to process it. I definitely prefer that because then I feel like I'm more steadfast in my thoughts and I can go online and get like the general reception. Yeah, but this also has an advantage. It's the raw, unfiltered first reaction as to what the hell we've just seen. What about you though? How did you find it? Was it good?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is how I normally watch it. I rarely stay up and watch something live. So usually this is what you get from me, just like the immediate raw reactions. And also, I've been away this weekend, like been on a little holiday, and I just wanted to complete like reset. So I deleted all social media from my phone. So I didn't see any spoilers whatsoever. I haven't really seen any fallout, any reaction. I mean, I've seen bits and pieces just in the few minutes before starting recording and finishing watching it. So yeah, it feels quite fresh to me, and I feel like I've come at it with like just a fresh brain. It's like I'm not looking at what other people think. It's just purely myself. So with that, I mean, I loved it. Almost everything about it. Obviously, we'll get into it in detail, but I really enjoyed watching this, and it put me in such a nice mood. So I'm really looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah, and I think the most important things, like the things that maybe you didn't like or the things you thought, were the very insignificant parts of this pay-per-view. So
that's so true.
You know,
yeah, it's
but
like
the actual main important stuff, they really smashed it.
Yes, that's so true. Yeah, absolutely. I guess the gripes are things that in the long run are going to be insignificant, so you can forgive that.
Yeah. I didn't watch the pre-show, so we're just going to run down the main card. I'm assuming you wouldn't have either, because watching it the next day, and no one got time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because last night I was at a festival, so I was like, I could watch it live, and I got in time to watch it live.
Right.
But there was I could have watched it and been fine, but there was no way I would have been able to make coherent notes. So I chose to sacrifice that for the betterment of the podcast, and then decided to watch it hungover today, which was, like we were talking earlier, sometimes when the gripes happen, it makes you a little bit cranky because you're like, I'm tired, I'm hanging. I'm eating my Subway salad, trying to rejuvenate, and I just don't have much patience. But on the other side, it was healing. It like brought me back to life a little bit watching the show.
Yeah, I can sort of relate. I mean, I wasn't hungover, but I was really tired today from like traveling and stuff. So when it got a bit slow and I was a bit bored, I was like fighting for my life not to take a nap. And it just, but it wasn't. That wasn't often. It wasn't often that was happening, so that's, again, a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll just dive on into it, run through it, shall we?
Let's do it,
Ready?
yeah.
So the first match was Mercedes versus Jamie Hayter, which I thought was a really great shout for the first match because, as we said in the predictions, there was a real threat of this being lost. And you could argue that it got lost a bit because it's the first thing that happened, but I think it's way better to be the first rather than the middle. I think it'd be even more lost in the shuffle in the middle because the first match, it sticks out in your head. It sets the tone. It sets the impression for the evening.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I really liked the way they structured it so that the Owen Hart tournament started and ended the night. I felt like that gave it a lot of importance. So I liked, the structure of that and the parallels of that I thought was really a nice touch.
Yeah. So the match was really interesting. I liked how from the start they were sizing each other up, they were underestimating each other. We also had a split crowd, which added to the
Yeah,
excitement and the tournament feel. We had that for the men's as well,
definitely.
which definitely creates a vibe for sure. And I thought that it was interesting because here she had quite a visceral, usage of visceral offense with the stomping and then like the targeting of the leg, side leg, single leg Boston Crab. Normally with Monet, she's the most vicious in the match, right? And her power and physicality, because she's quite a petite lady, but like in terms of like the viciousness of her offense, it's not met. But Jamie Hayter, with all of her gripes going into this and her frustrations, she met her there, and they
Yeah.
both just beat the shit out of each other, quite frankly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to start with, it was quite slow and methodical, like both going for submissions, like trying to hurt each other. But then it quickly turned into, yeah, like you said, like both being really hard hitting. And it was very 50-50 throughout as well.
Yeah, the meteor off the ring was really nasty, but also very clean looking. The
Totally.
backstabber with the straight jacket on here was a great visual. I think that was my favorite spot of the match, just because you could see it told the story. Like, picture tells a thousand words. Jamie Hayter's face of determination, and Mercedes putting the submission hold in and just having that look of frustration, of needing to win, of needing to put the underdog down, as it were. I thought that was a really great spot in the match. Mercedes targeting the lower back and spine as well. I thought these two really brought out the best of each other. Um, yeah, and I really liked the end. Like you said, that it was methodical and it was slow, but I felt like that was because it was calculated and neither of them wanted to underestimate each other. But then towards the end, you get that tournament frantic pinfall attempts, and Hayter with the suplex lariat was such a close near fall.
Oh,
Because we
Mercedes is the queen of near falls. I feel like she is so good at kicking out at 2.99999 and making it so convincing.
Yeah, and then we had the roll up, uh, which finished the match, and she ran straight to the cup. It was just a
Love
really
that.
great frantic finish, and she sold that really well by just being like, "Oh my God, I've won," and run straight to the cup and collapsing there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it
It's
was a roll up, but it was also, I'm not sure what, I think it was meant to be a roll up, but it ended up looking like a DDT and she sort of spiked her on her head. And that's the way commentary called it as well, and like sort of trapped both of her arms. I thought that was a really great way to finish it, whether it was intentional or not, because it looked genuinely really painful, but also like with the unexpectedness of a roll up, and then just immediately sprinting down the ramp to the cup. It was just so iconic. Love that so much.
Yeah, I think this match for me just really delivered. It met all my expectations in terms of outcome, in terms of these two going at it. They really put on a show and made it feel worthwhile for all those years. Well, not all those years, that sounds age, but all those times where you've been watching Jimmy Hayter and Mercedes was in
Mm.
the other company, and you'd be like, oh, imagine that as a dream match. And they really, as I say, brought out the best of each other and were met each other physically in their offense, which, like I say, is interesting because Jimmy Hayter is a bit bigger than Mercedes. She's such a tiny lady, but she got a lot of bite. She's like a Joshi. Got that Joshi fire in her, like that Joshi build. Um,
I think you're gonna say like a
but yeah,
chihuahua.
like a Chihuahua. Yeah, like a Chihuahua, definitely. What breed of dog would each AEW wrestler be?
Oh yes, video idea. Don't be giving that content away for on this video. That is a whole video. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely chihuahua vibes. Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. It was a great match. The stakes were high, like you said. This was somewhat of a dream match, and they lived up to that. And what a great way to start off the show. I mean, I know it's a lot of pressure being in the opening match, and they certainly delivered on that front. And I also think the right person
So
won. I feel like that it
yeah,
was kind of maybe an
100%.
obvious conclusion, but I 100% think that the right person won.
Yeah. So after that, we got an announcement of, well, I was half asleep at this point because I was getting ready during the first hour of the show. So I thought it was a Jim Ross death announcement. I was like, because I was half listening, I was like putting my makeup on because obviously it's not wrestling. I'm just like, oh, something's going on. They're like Jim Ross. I think it's to do with obviously a week ago, 2 weeks ago actually, he was diagnosed with colon cancer and he announced that, and he's going in for surgery. So they just had some nice kind words from him. But I thought he died, and I was like, I was tearing up. Like I was like, what's going on?
You're about to ruin your makeup
Because I haven't
thinking,
been on
oh my
social
God.
media. I've been on
Yeah.
social media, so I was like half listening, and they're all solemn, like, so we send our love out to Jim Ross. They're like, they're like, oh, Jim Ross has been a great partner over the years. Like the way they were talking and stuff,
I
I was
know.
like,
It was sort of like past tense, wasn't it? I can understand if you were paying half attention, that would probably seem like he had passed away. Thank God that's not the
thank
case.
God, yeah, could not have dealt with that this morning. So yeah, then we go on to the next match, which, it made me eat my words, and it was freaking fantastic. The Nigel McGuinness, Daniel Garcia versus FTR match. I couldn't be asked for this match. I didn't have time for this match. I didn't care, and they absolutely blew it out of the water. And I love that. I love being proven wrong. That's like one of my favorite things in wrestling. Like being like, oh, this is shit. I can't be asked, and then being like, oh, actually this was really, really, really good, and it still stood out. There was a lot of great wrestling that night, but this, because of the entertainment and dramatic angle that it had, it still stands out, and it still kind of stood the test of time in regards to the pay-per-view, because of its
It,
uniqueness, I thought.
yeah, definitely. That's what I was about to say. It was unique compared to everything else on the card. It was more story driven and more grudge driven than everything else. Because obviously there's grudges and stories on the whole card, of course, but it was more driven by, because the tournament sort of dominated the pay-per-view. So that's competitive, whereas this felt more personal, I suppose.
Yeah, and this kind of gives shades of, like, in WrestleMania, typically there'd be that one. I know WWE is very sports entertainment based in general, but there'd always be like that one match, and typically it would have a celebrity in or
Yeah.
something of the likes, and it'd be that highly dramatic, as you say, personal kind of grudge match, but not grudge match in the way that of wrestling, of like, this is a grudge, who is the best wrestler, just like an episode of Coronation Street. So
Yeah,
that, that
absolutely.
that's what this was giving, like, shades of, but I mean that in a compliment. It knew what type of match it was. It didn't pretend. It didn't lean into the serious. It did have serious wrestling, but it didn't lean into that. It was like, okay, that's already on the card. How can we stand out? And it just, all those spots that made it that form of match, they really lent into and went balls to the wall. And I think that's what made the match so great and why they pulled it off so well.
Yeah, 100%, because they knew that they weren't gonna, like you say, stand out on the card by being or technically the best match, or like with the highest spots, or like the best multi-man match. So they found their own way to stand out, and I think it worked for them. Yeah.
Also, it was great to see FTR wrestling heel. I know they're wrestling heel with this character with the Stokely for a little while now, but seeing it on pay-per-view, it was like, yeah, like, your wrestling style is made to be like, you're meant to be heels based on your wrestling style, and I found
Yeah.
them a lot more, their act a lot more convincing and a lot more likably dislikable
Mhm.
when watching them in this match.
Well, I think that the in-ring work as heels is very solid. I've found a little bit of what they were doing on the outside maybe a little bit forced and just a bit annoying, like getting in Tony Schiavone's face. I totally get it for like the story and like what they were doing. And yes, it's a despicable thing to do to go after poor defenseless Tony Schiavone, but there were certain elements of that where I was just like, I don't know. I didn't really believe it from them, if that makes any
Right?
sense.
Yeah. If that's how it didn't bother me like that much. I kind of was enjoying it because at least Daniel Garcia and Nigel could get their retribution
True.
there and then. So it wasn't they're just beefing for Tony Schiavone for no reason, and what's the point? Like they're not gonna
Mm.
have a match. So I didn't mind it as much, but it's if that's how you feel, that's how you're feeling. So yeah, the match with Daniel Garcia starting out with the lockup with Cash, who, as you said, they were doing lots of the heel shtick, and very antagonistic, trying to give him a
Mm.
hug, him shoving off. And Daniel Garcia was fucking awesome in this match. He was the most fired up. He
Mm.
was, and you know what? He didn't need to be. He could have just phoned this in because I said this guy is a
Mm.
singles guy, right? He's in this kind of really dead end storyline because what is he really going to get out of this? He's not going to get a rub. He's not going to move up the card or anything. It's just a bit of fun.
Mm.
But he was also one of the key components that made me enjoy this because just how impassioned he was and how frustrated he was getting with FTR and how much energy he was bringing to the match really added a lot as well.
Yeah, he was excellent. And I think it worked because Nigel was willing to take all the heat in this match. So, I mean, he took a fucking beating, like really nasty bumps all the way through. So that made it really work for Garcia to be the sort of like the hero and the one who can fight back and really show his toughness. And I think that's a great point that you made. Like he probably could have just sat back and made this an easy evening for himself, but he didn't.
Yeah, and I thought, singing the praises of people, I thought that Nigel, who I haven't sang the praises of yet, I thought he was on top form,
Yeah, absolutely.
and I really enjoyed seeing his offense. I find it to be very unique and almost, I know this word has a bad connotation, but almost dated because he's not out there week on week, right, wrestling live TV. So his style is still very unique and very much in that time capsule, but it's
Yeah.
very refreshing to see because, it's his second match. He's not overexposed so far. And yeah, again, like the uniqueness of this match, he added to that because some of the offense or the way he would sell a move or deliver a move is kind of unorthodox to AEW. It's definitely got its own flavor, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, 100%. He's got a lot of signature moves that not many people you don't see other people doing his signature moves that you know, he's done his entire career. Um, and yeah, I totally agree. He hasn't missed a beat. Like he just looked totally badass. And like I said, like some of the the bumps he was taking were really nasty, and he's excellent at selling. He just absolutely looked like he died a death multiple times.
Yeah. So it's Daniel Garcia with the 10 count punches on FTR, Tower of London near fall, which was very, very close, and I should say cool, unique moves that you're not seeing a lot of. The joint submission, Daddy Magic stopping the Stokely interference, which no, I don't know, it's just like normally I just wouldn't be asked about stuff like this, but they really played up these spots. It was always caricature-esque, and that's why, as I say, I enjoyed it so much. Uh, and I don't know, what did you make of the Nigel, this is for you, Tony, and making Cash apologising? Because, again, with the caricature campiness of this match, like, I really enjoyed it, but did that piss you off? 'Cause you said you weren't into the Tony Schiavone stuff. Like, what's your thoughts?
It didn't. I wouldn't say it pissed me off. I felt like that was quite like a cathartic moment. Like, oh, he's finally getting them to apologize. But then I did find it a little bit cheesy. But I was like, whatever. I could. It is what it is. But then Cash like quickly took it back, didn't he? Because he basically destroyed Nigel and went and flipped Tony off, I think. So I was a bit like, oh, what's the point?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like hung up on that. I didn't hate it, but I was just a bit like, oh, that could have been a nice feel good moment, but it felt like it was snatched away from us straight away. But I guess that's the point for making FTR excellent heels.
Yeah, it did like suck the air out of that particular spot, because like I say, it's denying you that full catharsis, but at the end of the day, that is the point, isn't it? You're supposed to, they're getting heat, so
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. The top rope suplexes in the corner that we had twice from Daniel Garcia onto Dax Hardwood was very nice, added to the excitement. Like, is he going to do a third? Is he going to do a fourth? The shatter machine on the floor to Nigel.
God, nasty shit.
Nasty shit. And then Tony Schiavone trying to check on Nigel. More moments of drama. Daniel Garcia fighting basically alone at that point.
Yeah,
And I liked when he put the leg on the rope during the submission hold, knowing he's outnumbered, but still continuing to fight. And he fought until he passed out in the sharpshooter, which I really, really liked a lot. I liked how his fighting spirit was there right until the end, and he was not giving up.
yeah.
But,
I think of all the endings that we could have had, I think that was probably the best one. Because obviously it just makes him look really tough, and it's like, well, what more can he do? He's completely outnumbered. His partner's been laid out. He's refusing to tap, but he can't do anything other than, he's in so much pain, so he passes out. So yeah, I think, and it also makes FTR look pretty badass as well. And also playing up to Stokely being part of the team and sort of him being helpful as well. So it's less of like, well, what's he got to offer FTR? You can see his value through this match, which is a good thing. I will say, like, I just felt like this. I'm not sure if this was just because my energy was dwindling. I felt like this match was quite long. I felt like maybe it didn't have to be so long. And I wasn't really sure what the point of Tony getting up out of his seat was. I mean, I guess to be fair, like, his friend, Nigel McGuinness, is fighting sort of on his behalf, like, because he's been given a lot of shit. He's fighting for his honours type of thing. And he wants to check on his friend, and he doesn't want to sit there on commentary and do nothing. I get that. That does actually make sense. But I just felt like he was just kind of stood there kind of awkwardly. And I was like, could you have done something? Just something physical just to make it a bit less awkward. I'm not sure if that was just me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I do get where you're coming from, being nitpicky. Maybe because Stokely was in the corner, maybe for just this match, he was like, do you know what? I actually want to be at ringside rather than being at the comments test. Might not have been like, he might have felt more involved, but then again, there's value in having him on the commentary desk because then he can sell the story directly because he's involved with it. But yeah, I think for me, I had such low expectations for this match that when I went in and actually enjoyed it, I was just there for the ride and I was just having fun. At that point, I was like, well, I'm having fun, so I'm not like picking up on these things. But I think for you went in maybe with a bit more grace for it because you were so excited for Nigel. So if you're already there, then maybe there's a bit more room to fall. Whereas me, I was at rock fucking bottom, so the only way is up, baby. But,
I think that's probably it. Maybe because I think Nigel had a good showing in this match, but I sort of agree with the way they did it for the sake of telling the story. But I feel like Nigel, he just ate a lot of shit in this, that's not a bad thing. But I guess that's maybe part of the reason my reaction to it is like, oh, I kind of wanted this to be a nice moment for him, and we maybe didn't get that as much.
But when we made the predictions, though, the prediction always was that FTR would win because the whole purpose of this match is to solidify FTR as an act, as a heel act with Stokely. And that's what this did because it took away those moments that you wanted to see. And, you can argue that, yeah, that gets heat, but it's annoying. And I think that's a fair enough reaction. But I think the objective that they achieved. And I am happy that it seems, although it is sad that the babyface has lost, I think what you said in that this is going to be a one and done closed out. I think this is closed out because what more can you do? Nigel, he took all that shit, so he's like beat up, so he's not going to come back for more, is he?
True.
And Daniel Garcia, he literally passed out. And if you don't have Nigel by his side, well, what's he going to do? I do still think it's not great for Daniel Garcia because he's now got to go rebuild his momentum in the singles division, unless he just goes and gets another partner. I still don't think it's great for him, but I think it's the best case scenario for what it was and for my low expectations that, yeah, it achieved what it needed to achieve.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. I think that maybe I've just been worked. They're so good at being heels that I've just been worked.
Yeah, but it's like I said, there's been work doing there, but there is still that element of that catharsis being taken away from you, and I guess it's like I don't know. It's a real grey area. Like, what is good what
Yeah.
because when you're watching it as a mark, it's like you're also looking at it from like a critical standpoint of technically what's going to make the best wrestling match, like
Yeah.
emotionally, because like the way we're analyzing it, it's like quite meta and it makes your brain hurt. Because yeah,
Yeah, it's kind
yeah,
of like, as a fan, what do I want? But is what I want as a fan for the best? Just because I didn't
yeah.
get what I want as a fan, does that mean it's bad? Not necessarily. It's a bit of a catch-22 really, but
Because we're deep in it.
it's because we're deep in it, yeah. I guess from a surface level, like, as like, like a Nigel Beginnings fan, dare I say, casual fan. I didn't like this match because I want my fave to win. But from a more critical standpoint, I can see that it's what happened needed to happen.
And the next feud that they go into, chances are you're going to be even more into the baby faces that they're against,
Because, yeah,
because
you want them
you've
to
got
lose.
that you've yeah, you want to see them lose, which I guess is like wrestling 101. You're paying
Yeah,
to watch the heels get beat up, but
100%.
yeah. Anything else to say? Should we move on to the next match?
Um, no, let's move on.
Okay, because I feel like you could just go around in circles, couldn't you? Just talking
Absolutely.
about that. So next up we had the stretcher match, which is Ricochet versus Matt Briscoe, which again was high on the fun scale,
Yes.
and a predictable match, similar to the last one in that you always knew Matt Briscoe was going to, but goddamn, Matt Briscoe was fucking brilliant tonight.
Oh, I
He was
loved it.
absolutely brilliant, and these two are such a fun combination. They really play off well together. That's the thing about the Ricochet character. He's such a great heel because most, if not all, baby faces can really get something out of him
Oh,
more than
100%.
most.
That's so true. And also, I think I've said this on the podcast before, but it's incredible how he can still get boos, still be an effective heel considering his moveset and his wrestling style, which he's not altered all that much. He's still high flying and he's still, fast paced, signature Ricochet style, but you still boo him because he's unbearable. So
But to
that,
some people, though, they think that they're like unbearable. They relate high flying with unbearable. You know, think of the
that's
Cornet
so
crowd
true.
and the AEW critics crowd. God, I haven't been online, but I can imagine the reaction to Anarchy in the arena and just the chaos and the flippy shit. So yeah, in a way, to like us, it's like, oh, these high spots, that's obviously a babyface type beat, but to some people, and I think that's what he's played into, is like the
Mm,
critics' perception of him, similar to the Young Bucks. I think
yeah, yeah.
that's how they've gone down the avenue.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I guess I was thinking more like traditionally, back in the day, if you turn heel,
Okay.
you have to change your move set. You can't be doing anything that might get a cheer or a clap. You have to be doing rest holds, baby. But it's
And then
nice that
Jeff does that, doesn't he?
yeah, yeah.
So Jeff's very traditional. He changes his move
hmm
styles up a lot.
It's nice that we can get a mix of both in AEW, where it's like we can subvert expectations. We can be a Ricochet but still be an asshole. But it really works. Like you said, it works with every face because he's just a great heel, and especially Mark Briscoe. You maybe on paper wouldn't think that these two would mesh all that well in the ring because they're so different, but that really made it work. It just from the beginning, it was hilarious, but not to the point of being like comedy wrestling where you weren't taking it seriously. It was still a serious wrestling match. It just made you laugh at some points. Like, for example, polishing his head. I mean, that absolutely
Oh
cracked
yeah,
me
good
up.
products.
Also, I just wanted to mention as well, just on the point of cracking me up, the person who had that SpongeBob reference on the sign. It was like, bald, bald, my eyes, from the SpongeBob movie. Shout out to whoever that person was. Yeah, that was like, that set the tone. They showed that sign like right at the beginning. That set the tone, preparing us for when he was going to get his big bald head polished. That was just hilarious. The shooting star press onto the stretcher as well was really cool. And Mark moved. So Ricochet went straight into it. Looked really brutal. I mean, I feel like with a gimmicky match like this, it's easy for it to be quite crap. Let's be honest, like sometimes a gimmick like this can sort of limit a match and sort of anchor the match to the gimmick, but they did some cool spots with the stretcher without making it all about that, which I really liked.
Yeah, and there wasn't a lot of the generic shit of there wasn't a lot of thin out spots of oh
Mm.
I'm gonna get you on the stretcher, oh I'm gonna really slowly put you on the stretcher and really slowly do the strip. No, yeah, I thought this match they really gave us what we wanted from the gate. They understood the assignment. Again, leaning in to the chaos of it and the fun of it because that's what people want to see. And I really liked how they wrestled the match intelligently. Like they were both trying to get each other on the stretcher, not just a generic wrestling match. They really kept it outside of the ring and
Oh
all the
yes,
spots
that's such a
made
good point.
sense.
I never even thought of that, but you're so right. They were rarely inside the ring. They were like around the ring, like near the stretcher and things, which was very cool. And like it wasn't like I'm gonna lay on this stretcher just for a little lie down. There's none of that stupid stuff that doesn't make sense. When Briscoe got busted open and the spot where he was getting his head smashed on the stretcher and his blood was splattering everywhere, that was disgusting, but such an amazing graphic.
Yeah, and I mean that blood kept all night. He looked like he was in a horror movie,
Yeah, it was
basically.
horrific.
That's what this was giving, the killing scene of a horror movie.
Yeah.
Ricochet being the killer.
That's the thing, like it
And
could be
yeah.
funny, but then it took a pretty nasty turn when that happened and it was like, oh yeah, this is violent.
Yeah, which it has to be. Like, if the whole gimmick is getting stretchered out of the
Yeah,
match,
yeah,
they have
yeah.
to do more than
Sent to a
just
hospital.
a wrestling match and, oh, like, I passed out and da da da. No, like, yeah, they need to get sent to hospital, which it was highly believable. Like, yes, get that man to the local medical facility ASAP. Yeah, I mean, you got him in the ambulance the first time, used the crutch. So again,
I like that
it's
spot. That was so
it's
cool.
it's violent, but it had the comedy, and that was a pretty comedic, cool spot. And then coming out using the fire extinguisher as
Oh,
well.
again, it just had me laughing out loud. I was like, "What? Am I a child?" But that's just the reaction it evoked out of me. I was like,
Childlike wonder.
"Yeah,
Yeah. So he managed to make a turn. He did the Dre Driller, the Froggy Bow through the table. Ricochet had a pair of scissors to Mark Briscoe, and Briscoe wrestled it off him, and he looked like an absolute madman marching up the ramp,
axe
holding him.
murderer,
But
but like scissors murderer."
yeah, final girl, final boy vibes. Briscoe, yeah. They get to the ambulance and Ricochet, the bastard, he produces a second pair of scissors and he digs it into the head
Ew.
wound of Matt Briscoe. Low blow, very rigid, hard hitting, spirit gun for the win. Boom.
Boom, that's it. Tied up
Perfect.
nicely in a little bow. Like I just like the way it all came together. Like the head injury that Mark had sustained earlier became a really important part in, the scissors being used as a weapon. Obviously, the scissors being Ricochet's whole thing. And it wasn't like a drawn out thing of, oh, is he gonna close the door? No, it was nice and honestly like quite simple actually, but it was really effective. Very fun match.
Thought it had the absolute perfect runtime as well.
Yeah.
I was a
Yeah.
bit worried at the first ambulance spot, though I should have known, of course, it wouldn't. They have to. There's no way someone just gets put in an
5 minute
ambulance
match.
once and goes in. That's wrestling 101, in it? That like when they do the casket match, someone's got to like put something out to prevent it. But yeah, I thought the second time they shut the door, perfect pacing, perfect match, no notes.
Yeah, it exceeded my expectations.
Yeah. So next up, we had the Hurt Syndicate with MJF. MVP was on commentary. MJF was kind of in the almost managerial role on the side, looking out for him. And I know he said that he kind of struggled a bit during this match. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say. I think there was 3 what I would regard as TV matches during this pay-per-view. This to me was in the middle. There was one that was better, which was the Mike Bailey versus Okada. That was very good. And then the Callis family versus the Paragon to me was worse than this. Like that was at the bottom of the fucking barrel TV
agreed.
match. That was giving pre-show vibes.
Agreed.
But this was in the middle, but I know that you said you kind of struggled through it, so
I did. I mean, listen, I'm not gonna lie. I was feeling really fucking sleepy, and I just wasn't motivated to try
you saw
and.
Sammy Guevara.
Yeah, I was really trying. I was really trying for Max, for the Hurt Syndicate. You know, I love these guys, but I even paused it. I had a 10-minute nap and pressed play again and really tried, but like I couldn't get into it. I feel like these two teams didn't have a lot of chemistry. I feel like it just didn't really work. I feel like the match was quite long. It felt really long. I don't know. And
I agree.
feel like the pacing was a bit off, and it just was a bit out of sync. So to me,
it was
it wasn't
predictable.
interesting. I think the only really interesting thing about this match was like, how is MJF going to be getting involved? Like, what's his role to play in this? And I quite like the way that MVP like put trust in him, and he was like, right, I'm gonna go on comms. I'm trusting you to be ringside and to deal with shit if anything goes wrong. But I feel like, I mean, yeah, he helped them win, but I just didn't find it all that interesting. It was just being a heel, which, yeah, I know that's the whole point. That's his role to play. But I also think that like I have seen a couple people say online that like MJF is just going to be a babyface again. If that's not the direction they want to go with it, they need to be quite careful with how this goes, because a lot of it is it's quite funny and it's quite endearing that he wants these people to like him. So it's like, where do you want to take it? Do you want us to boo and him to, just be an asshole and just help them win by being annoying, or is it meant to be like some sort of uplifting, funny storyline? I don't know. Don't know if it just really landed in this.
I think it's supposed to be like a bit of both. I think it's probably like a 40-60. I think before the 60 was the rootability, because you didn't know whether the Hurt Syndicate were going to let them in. Now they've let him in, so now I'd say the 60 is more the heel thing, which they really went on the hometown heat on the go home show for Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
And I think though the 60 will switch again to Max being the rootable babyface, because they will continue to exploit him, I think, in the long run. And I do think that they've mentioned it, especially out of character, just in interviews and stuff, the possibility of Cedric Alexander coming in, and I really think that will bring the beginning of the end, and there'll be some kind of dissolution there. So I think it's kind of like a swinging pendulum, but obviously, I mean, I can't tell the future. I like to think that I can, but I think without seeing the big picture, it's kind of hard, because you want to be a smart fan and you want to be in the know, and you want to, know how you're supposed to feel about it. But that's my take on it anyway.
So what did you think about this match then?
I had a lot of thoughts. I thought, going into the fact that you said about the runtime and the predictability, and there was something else that you said specifically, but I can't remember. My point was that we talked about there was a lot of nuance. That's it. You said that they didn't have chemistry, and I agree, but it's like they could have done if they wanted to, because for this match to go on so long, had had the build up been better, they could have gone into the nuances of Sammy and MJF.
Oh yeah, we had someone in the
And
comments saying about that, like making a really good point about it, and them two being day oneers and the story that you could tell there, and also Justin as well. Yeah, 100%.
yeah, they could have gone to so much stuff. But I also want to get into the fact of how fucking bizarre the group of Dustin and Sammy are, Sons of Texas or whatever the hell they're called, because it makes no sense, right? Because why is Dustin, the older of the group, getting the hot tag? It's almost like it's reversed. Dustin does all the promo work he did last week.
Yeah,
And Sammy's like almost in that daddy ass sort of role in the Acclaimed. And I don't even like Sammy Guevara, but I don't get it.
does anyone?
I'm of the mindset Sammy Guevara should be seen and not heard. But I just don't get it, because the way that dynamic of that group is set up, it's like Dustin's got all the passion and all the anger, and he's getting the hot tag and getting the most out of that.
Yeah,
And Sammy's just lumped to him.
he's just kind of there.
It makes no sense. Obviously, I don't watch Ring of Honor, so I'm not that familiar with this act. I like to just pretend that it's not happening. But when it's on my screen on a pay-per-view that I'm watching, then of course there is no ignoring it. So I don't know if this is just how this team works, but I really didn't get it at all.
Yeah, I don't get it. I feel like they've got anything really in common. I don't see how they work well as a team. I don't get it. Open to being to suggestions in the comments what we may have missed in Ring of Honor, if there's some big Sons of Texas or whatever fans. But I mean, I echo what you said. I don't like Sammy Guevara anyway, so it's nice that he can just be quiet.
Yeah, and the conclusion of the match was quite paint by numbers, as you say. It wasn't anything interesting. It wasn't any dynamic. It was a bit convoluted with we're in the spot with Max gouging the eyes of Dustin, setting up the diamond ring. Lashley stops to have words. It looks like there's tension, but then there's no tension. And he spears Dustin, which was a really clean, nice spear, just straight through. And Sammy was then intercepted by Shelton. So the Hurt Syndicate worked well together. I think that was the point of this match, is that they're all on the same page. They're working well together.
Yeah.
But yeah, because there's been so much build up for him to join. It's not even necessarily that you want to see tensions right away or anything like that. I honestly think that would be quite poor, but maybe just a more effective spot, or maybe it'd be more cathartic to see Max actually help them. But then again, like I said before, they don't need his help when they're going against fucking Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes, do they? So,
I feel like that was the problem with this, I think, is that they didn't need his help, and then it's sort of like they were teasing that there's tensions, but then it was brushed under the rug pretty much straight away. So it just left me feeling a little bit confused, and like I haven't really got anything out of watching that. I don't feel like it's furthered the story in any sense of the story being, MJF being in the Hurt Syndicate and what their relationship is like. I don't feel like I've gained new information about that.
None of the TV matches did, though. None of the TV matches, as I call them, did, which is why they should be on TV. A pay-per-view should be monumental. It should be where you pull out all the stops. And they did tonight. They did. But it's just like this pay-per-view is very long. I understand that because it's the pay-per-view that started it all. It's one of AEW's big four, if you will. But these matches could have been easily cut. But the next one was pretty fucking good. So do you know what? You don't have to cut the next one. You don't have to cut the next one. But, it wasn't really necessary for such a long run time. That's been a criticism of AEW pay-per-views for a while, is knowing when to edit it.
Yeah, like
when do we need this?
I understand wanting to give people a spot on the pay-per-view and wanting to give stories a place to pay off, but this match didn't need to be on the pay-per-view. It could have been on the pre-show. No, but then the Hurt Syndicate being on the pre-show doesn't sit right with me, actually, having said that. It's
but
difficult.
Dustin and Sammy are like pre-show vibes.
They are. There's just they don't match up. The caliber of these two teams, they don't match up at all. You know, Sammy and Dustin are dragging them down. It's not the other way around. It's not Hurt Syndicate dragging them up, in my opinion. So, yeah.
I'm excited to see who's going to step up next for the
Yeah.
Hurt Syndicate, though.
Yeah,
I
totally.
really hope that with the closing out of the Nigel against Daniel Garcia stuff and with FTR seemingly having more focus, more ambition, that we might get that. But then again, that brings back into question the pendulum of should I boo, should I cheer? Because surely if you're going to put FTR against the Hurt Syndicate, they would naturally be the faces. But
Yeah,
I guess we'll see.
it's difficult. Tag division is quite difficult.
Yeah. So then we're going to move on to a really great match that didn't really need to happen. Didn't really serve or anything, but I don't care because it was freaking amazing.
Yeah, I think
Pretty last minute setup, and I was sat up. I was like this, and then I sat up for this
Yes.
match. I was like, "Ooh, I'm clocked in."
I was awake after this. After this last match finished and this one began, I was like, hell yeah. I'm ready to go. I'm wide awake. Don't need to sleep anymore. I'm ready. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying about it being a TV match in that, like, it didn't really further anything. And it could have been left off the pay-per-view with little ramifications. But, like you said, of the three of them, this was the best one and this deserved a spot on the show.
Yeah, and I like the placement of this as well because obviously we'd had the previous match, and I thought this was very appropriate because, like I said, this was like the middling part of the pay per view. So yeah, I liked where it was, and Matt Bailey, he's just amazing, and him and Okada had. Speaking of chemistry, these two had amazing chemistry.
Yeah, they did.
Such a great clash of styles because you had Matt Bailey trying to run circles around Okada, and him being more cerebral, the cerebral assassin up in here. He was
copyright
he's very
strike.
much. I know he's very much a. I'm trying to think of the saying, but my brain's mush. It's like work smarter, not harder. That's the right combination. I was just trying to get the words in the right order. Yeah, but very, very cool. And I loved the starter, my Bailey kicking the steel steps to the crane kick even to the triangle moonsault. He's just that damn good. Is Mike Bailey. And the thing is, well, with this, predictable. You knew he was losing, but he made you believe. He made you believe.
He did. And who cares? Like, it just goes to prove, like, it doesn't, even if it's predictable, it doesn't mean, oh, it's going to be shit. Oh my God, this pay-per-view sucks. Everything's so predictable. Like, that is not at all the case. This match was a case in point of that. It just depends how they execute it, right? And I think the way that they did this was so well done. Like, not just obviously the ring work from these two, you expect it to be very good because they're both, got quite similar styles and they're very, very crisp in everything they do. So put them together and obviously they worked really well. But I love the psychology of this, and I thought that commentary put it over really well too, where Speedball he's like the underdog, and like you said, he's trying to run rings around him, but Okada's being the efficient wrestler. So he is, commentary said it a lot, like allowing his opponent to make a mistake. So being very decisive and clinical in the way that he would pick his moment to just stop Speedball in his tracks. So just kill off his momentum, like guard him in to making a mistake and then striking rather than going all in, which is what Mike Bailey was doing because he's the less experienced of the two. So he's more like all guns blazing, like, oh, gotta give it everything, whereas Okada's just taking it a lot more smart. He's playing the smart game, and I thought that was just so effective for both of them. It made them both look great, but it made the match make sense without Bailey coming off like weak. He didn't like. I know I'm saying that Okada's being the smart one, but he didn't make Bailey look stupid or anything like that. it just really worked.
Yeah, and it allowed Mike Bailey to get all of his shit in. So I say it worked in both of their favours because he is getting over because you're getting to see all these amazing moves and how incredible he is. But then you're like, oh, that's why Okada's to go. Like when he did those quick rapid fire kicks, and then Okada just does a really clean, nasty dragon screw. It was pretty cool. But I loved the backflip knee drop onto a card on the apron. That looked nasty. And I thought this match, again, talking about runtime and card placements, I think this had a really nice runtime, which enabled us to get to those nasty spots, which if this was a TV match, it probably wouldn't have had the same amount of runtime. And so you probably wouldn't have been able to get to that higher gear.
Yeah.
I don't think you would have had that spot. I don't think it would have made sense if it was only like a 10 minute, 15-minute TV match. But yeah, I really like that. God, it's moves like that though, because he's moving he's so lithe on his feet and so agile. It just looks like bring. But in reality, that is a grown ass man driving his knees onto another man's like stomach. I'm like, oh
Yeah, and he did that
awful.
that was on the apron, right? So there's no
The hardest part of the ring.
Yeah, but there's no spring on that part either. So he's doing that like flat-footed standing. Also, he doesn't wear shoes. So the whole thing. Wrestlers like that make it look extremely easy. Like obviously they're very good at gymnastics and things, but it's like like watching the Olympics and the doing the floor gymnastics, and they somehow get like 7 foot in the air and they're twisting. It's like, how the fuck do you do that? It's like defying gravity. So yeah,
Defying gravity edit of Mike Bailey. It's me. I really like the frantic struggle in the third arc as well. That, as I said, really made you think Mike Bailey could take it. I write down in my notes MB for Mike Bailey, Matt Briscoe. Sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved the ending with the drop kick of this huge like 450-esque splash, and then straight into the Rainmaker for the win. It was fucking incredible, and what a match!
That finish was perfect because it just encapsulated what they were trying to tell the whole match. Like the whole time they were telling this story of Okada lets the opponent make the mistake and then he strikes, and that was that in a nutshell. So it worked perfectly. It was such an exciting way to end the match. Everyone was like shocked that he'd somehow like reversed it into a really precise drop kick, and then all of a sudden he was hitting the Rainmaker for the win. All through the match there was like epic counters and things and reversals that they each had for each other, and this was, yeah, like I said, just a perfect example of that. Really, really good match.
So moving on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, we had
Exciting one
Mina
up next.
Shirakawa versus Toni Storm for the women's title, and this was violently playful, which was a very unique tone that only these two could have.
Yes, that's so true. Like they match each other's energy so much, don't they? I love that about them.
They match each other's freak.
Yeah, they're a match made in heaven. I ship it so hard.
They are. They really took the time at the start. It was quite slow, but I thought that worked in their favour, and it allowed the match to breathe. With spots like those involving Lou first, we had Shirakawa vaulting over his body, using it as leverage, and the crossbody. Really, really fun. And because these are larger than life and they've got this playfully violent vibe about them, it was good to slow it down at the start because you could really take it all in and take in what they were doing and their character work and so forth.
Yeah, 100%. And as well, mentioning Luther, he's awesome. I love how you can just tell there's zero ego in it for him. He's always willing to make a proper dick out of himself and just look really ridiculous and silly to help Tony and to be entertaining and to add to the match. And I love that about him. And it's never about him. Do you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't steal the attention away from Tony or anything like that. It's just being in the right spots and yeah, just adding something to the match, adding something a bit different. Yeah, he's great. I feel like I
He didn't
didn't
even
fully
speak
appreciate
either.
him until recently. Yeah, he doesn't even speak, and you can fully get his character. You just know what it is.
Yeah, he's great. He's a great part of the Tony Storm act and adds so much without, as you say, putting himself over and being the center of attention. But
Yeah.
he's just great.
The,
He's just
not many
great to have
people,
there.
especially in wrestling, can do that or are willing to do that.
Yeah.
So,
So obviously Mina lost this match, but I thought she wrestled a great match, and if it had been by points, I think she might have took it.
I love that. That's one of my favourite things to say on commentary. If we were
Yeah.
judging this match on points, this person might have won. But it's
But
such a
I
good
thought it was true. It's a
it's
generic
such a
line,
good
but I
point
thought it was
though.
true.
Yeah,
I thought it was
it is
true.
though. It is though, definitely. Like she got a lot of very strong offense in. But I also felt like it was for the most part it was very 50-50 as well. Um as in like they were going back and forth and it wasn't sort of like that traditional match structure of like the face is down and it doesn't and they have a big comeback sort of thing. Um but yeah, certainly I loved how they just made it seem like Tony was in a lot of danger.
Yeah, and I thought that really lent into Tony Storm's fighting style because obviously she's
Yeah.
kind of a bit. I can't think of the word like wily maybe, but I realized I drew the conclusion during this match that her and Orange Cassidy wrestle a very similar style. They've got big characters,
Mm,
and they are that underdog uh, sort of vibe, and they do kind of get by with the roll ups and with the big moves that they have to pull out from
that is
digging
true.
deep.
That is
So I drew
very
that
true, yeah.
conclusion. But yeah, but having said that, it was not a roll up that got her the victory. It was the Storm Zero. So it was, to me, the way I read that was putting a full stop on the Mina Shirakawa and Tony Storm escapade, especially concluded by the Hollywood ending with their kiss. So yeah, then we got the graphic for All In because obviously Mone beat Jamie Hayter earlier. It's going to be Mone versus Tony Storm for All In, as we predicted, because we're right
That's
and
money.
all wrestling shows should be booked how we think.
Oh,
And yeah, it's
100%.
money. It's
We're,
money, baby.
and we know how to make money. We're always right and we always make the right booking decisions. Some more wrestling promoters should take notes from the Too Sweet podcast. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. I love the build up for All In on this. Like, revealing those graphics was so exciting. It just made me feel a certain kind of way. I was like, oh, yes, I am so looking forward to that already. It's not until July. We've got a long time to build up a really great story between these two, which we've already sort of, in a sense, kicked off. So it can only get better.
Yeah, and it deserves that length of time
Yeah.
for sure because there is so much to dig into. But yeah, that match is money, and I think obviously Hangman versus Mox will be the main event, but it is a shame because they deserve it as well. But I get why it will be Mox and Hangman because that's for me. I think when it comes to men's and women's world title, whoever's story's been going on the longest should main event. But just on paper, those two are huge. So like if that wasn't going on, they could definitely have main evented the show.
Oh, totally. It's the star power of it is it's incredible to think because it's just like you think about Tony Storm and her time in like before AEW and she was I mean I know a lot of people really loved her before she came to AEW and thought she was a fantastic wrestler. Credit to you guys, you were right. And I can admit that I was wrong about her and I didn't really like her at the time. I found her very boring. But I'll admit I'm wrong. I'm very happy to be wrong about it. But like, she wasn't what was she like NXT UK champion or something? She wasn't like big. She wasn't put in that position to be a draw, right? She wasn't put in these sort of like main event type of matches. And you look at her now, and she's probably the biggest. Her and Mercedes, I'd say probably level like the biggest women's wrestling stars in AEW. And it's just incredible to think that's been built in AEW. And we've got to this point now where it's an incredibly strong women's roster, where this match, like you said, could feasibly main event any wrestling event. And there's a lot of people who will be incredibly excited, myself included, to see this match. And it's a draw. So I think
The
it's
draw,
just
brother.
yeah, exactly. I think it's incredible that we've got to this point in the women's division, and I'm very excited about it.
And very unique that they're both respective title holders, because I don't think
Yeah,
that's
that's so
something
true.
you see very often in either divisions, really.
Yeah, that's so true. I guess that's maybe part of the reason why some people thought that Jamie Hayter had a fighting chance, and that made this evening like very exciting because that, it seemed maybe a little bit unrealistic that you'd have a champ versus champ, but that just adds a whole new dynamic to it. So I know it's
Yeah.
2 months away, but I don't know who on earth is going to win that match. It just on paper right now, it's very unpredictable.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, shall we move on to the match that I'm like, Jesus Christ, I need to get a drink, have some deep breaths before we get into Anarchy in the arena.
Oh,
Cause Jesus Christ, that was a match.
I mean, I have to say this was one of my favorite things I've ever watched, including everything in my entire life, including like weddings and shit. Like, just I love this so much. This really unlocked some serotonin in my brain. Just love from start to finish. Love.
Yeah, love. So the just giving a shout out to the entrances. I loved Swerve as Predator. That was so sick. That was my favorite cosplayer uh that I've seen in wrestling in a long time.
What do you mean,
And obviously
like more
Kenny.
than the Young Bucks as
Oh
the
no, I
founding
love that too.
fathers?
But the Predator, yeah, that was sick. The Predator, that's like another like, cause like Swerve fits it. He looks so good with the eye makeup. And yeah, man, he is the fucking Predator. Uh, Kenny is Captain America, and yeah, the books with the founding fathers gimmick, which was
Oh,
absolutely hilarious.
it was so fucking funny, and the fact that they wrestled in that outfit, it just cracked me up. It's just hilarious. Only them two could make that work. Do you know what I mean? Because they're so annoying. That's the essence of who they are. They truly believe that they look epic in these costumes.
Yeah,
And it just,
they aren't afraid to look stupid at all.
yeah, 100%.
This is just leading into the allegations that wrestling is just another form of drag
Of course it is.
because of the
Wrestling,
campiness of it all.
wrestling is many things. Camp and drag are two of those things. It absolutely is.
Uh, yeah, so this is just absolute carnage from the gate. We had the split screen, and it really brought me back to when we watched Anarchy live, because obviously that's the graphic
Yeah.
you get in the arena, and
You don't know where to
having
look.
seen it, yeah, having seen it live and having seen it at home, I still think it's on equal footing. Because I think before we went, I was like, I don't know what it's going to be like live. Um, and then having seen it live, I was like, man, that's so amazing. Seeing it on pay-per-view, again, it might be a bit different, but yeah, it really does work well in different ways, whether you see it live, whether you were there live, or whether you're at home. It's still an amazing match. So unique and so unapologetic. It's so AEW, and
But
it's so
yes,
unapologetic. The cheesiness of plain drowning pool bodies, the corniness of that, but also the fucking brilliance of it. And yes, I was marking out for that. You best believe it. But it's just pure, unapologetic fun and chaos and all the things that the critics hate, just amping it up to 100 and being like, well, how would you like it now?
I completely agree. That's exactly what I was going to say too. So, you know, the chaos of it beginning, the split screens, the tune starting 2 minutes into the match, like seemingly out of nowhere. And we started off with I'm so excited by
Yeah.
I can't remember who. Taz was like singing along. And then Kenny got on the mic and was like, nah, that doesn't suit the vibe, sorry. And then they started singing, they started playing Bodies. And then Kenny was like letting some random girl do karaoke and she clearly didn't know the words, by the way, which was hilarious. I was like, this is the absolute essence of AEW. This is AEW in a nutshell, just here you go. And I love what you say about it being unapologetic. It's like, yeah, some people are gonna hate this, but everyone in this arena and everyone watching fucking loves this, and it's brilliant. And the chaos of it all, the chaotic energy is just brilliant. It's just, how can you? I was just watching with a smile on my face, basically. And I don't know how you can watch it without a smile on your face. It's so entertaining, so unique. It's
Yeah.
AEW.
Also, just taking a quick rewind before this started, because one of the coolest spots of the night, but also like gets overlooked maybe because of all the chaos, was Marina suplexing Willow onto the barricade. The
Oh my
balance
God.
that must have taken was absolutely crazy. These
That
two
yeah.
were awesome in this match.
That got lost in the shuffle a bit, didn't it? Because like it was on one of the split screens. There's like four screens, which was a shame. But yeah, 100%. If I'm nitpicking, like one thing I would have changed about this match was just more camera time on Willow and Marina, just the two of them, just more time to see what they were getting up to. Because yeah, what we did see was badass, like the suplex on the barricade, when they were brawling like backstage and with glass bottles. Willow fucking smashed a bottle over Marina's head. And then later on when Willow got her ear like attached she was attached to the ring via her earring hole. Oh my God, horrific. Everything they were doing was really good. I just wish we could have seen a little bit more of it.
Yeah, that's because we've been teased for so long for that match that he's just clamoring for anything. But yeah, they totally knocked it out the park. I'm so excited. Which before was the weird pilgrim music, and then we had the free, another thing that kind of got lost in the shuffle. Not a huge spot, but just the fun and chaos of it. The 3 point 10 count punches. I like Joe with the merch stand. It's just lawless. It's just anything goes, and then the body's being played. But it was so funny because Kenny just the most. He's such an awkward promo, I love it. I find it very endearing. Why don't we play some? Who wants to hear some 2000s alternative rock music? It's like, all right, Spotify DJ, calm down. I'm like, what you on about, man? Just made it such an uncool announcement, but I do love him. That's my favourite wrestler right there. I feel like if it's your favourite wrestler, you're allowed to bully him a little bit. That's how it works.
Yeah, well, if anyone else said it, it'd be like, oh, what you're saying about Kenny, that's offensive, but it's okay if you say it.
Yeah, exactly. And then we had that cool spot as well. So when the song first, because it played 4 times, he got his money's worth for the royalties he paid for that song. Also, I would have loved to have had they need to have a 5th camera on the monitor desk, because I need to see Tony Khan marking out for some of these spots. I'd love to have like a Tony camera live reaction.
Man. You know, I hope they're making like an AEW documentary and there is just loads of cameras backstage for this sort of thing, and we're going to see it all one day.
Yeah. But we had that bit where they were sort of in the crowd and Hobbs launching Utah into the security, and then Kenny just being insane. Like, fuck it, and doing the moonsault.
You know, that
Mox
really got me.
Carving Hobbs up.
I was just thinking, like, can you imagine being sat there in the crowd and like having to move out the way because Kenny Omega's like about to do a dive? Like, it's just crazy. Also, that reminds me, what I really liked was what they did with Samoa Joe and him not like making a traditional entrance so that he could jump Claudio. I thought it was, I could see it coming from a mile off, but I just thought it was really nice. Like, sort of just outsmart them, because obviously they know they always do their dramatic ass entrance through the crowd. So Joe was like, all right, I'll go find
why
him.
would he not go behind him? Yeah, he's like very Michael Myers-esque, just Joe stood behind him. Very entertaining. Marina and Willow in the parking lot with their bottle fight. Willow chained to the ring post by her ear. And then I think this was the thing that made me laugh the hardest was Prince Nana neighing on a forklift. That man is a forklift certified. And Swerve
Oh
doing the
my
stomp.
days. Yeah,
That was hilarious.
it was. It again, just
Viral
another,
gif that.
yes.
Send that in the group chat.
Oh, another gifable thing was when the Bucks were doing the swerve dance. They looked so fucking
Yeah.
stupid in those
The
outfits, but
fucking gritty. Yeah.
oh, it was so funny.
um yeah.
And also
Yeah.
the while Willow was like attached to the ring, they were sort of filming that bit, and then suddenly they had to move because the Bucks were doing that like assisted powerbomb thing from the apron through the table, which was on the floor. That was insane.
Yeah, and then we had this sort of a staple gun
Oh my god.
spot, the self-inflicted one, Hobbs, cool as fuck, Swerve, handing them out. We had one to the dick of Matt Jackson. Marina stapling Swerve's tongue because it's like just when you think Swerve's done it all, this man,
How much must that have hurt? Oh my god.
and he was loving it at the end as well, like sticking his
Yeah,
tongue out, like the
just when if you
adrenaline.
forgot about it, it was like, no, look, it's still there. Like
I
fucking
want to know,
psycho.
get cameras backstage. How did they get that out?
But yeah, I don't even, I don't know to be honest. I mean, oh,
Oh,
horrific.
that's just like sure like a recipe for like infections, as most wrestling matches
Absolutely.
are. But
Absolutely.
Jesus Christ. Uh, but yeah, that was absolutely badass, and loved Willow in this match. Loved. I mean, I was just so happy to see the girls in the match because they really played into the intergender stuff, which I was really hoping for. Willow double clothesline in the Bucks into the cutter of Mox. These two need a match. Forget Marina and Willow. I want to see Mox and Willow. That's money right there.
Oh, 100%.
They've got
Okay.
beef.
They got serious beef. It made me a bit emotional, to be honest, to see like Willow just spearing everyone. And then she pulled the straps down and she was wearing Hobbs's t-shirt, big black and jacked. I was just like, oh,
Yes. Oh, those two together in their little moment that they had after they just ran through everyone in the ring. I'm like, oh, I just love Willow so
I
much.
love her
I
so
love
much.
Hobbs so much as well. But one thing that I was a bit confused about was Hook coming in. So he came in, he
Oh
had the
yeah.
Kenny hoodie on, that was cool. And he saved Joe from Claudio. But Joe felt like he was very confused to see him. Not in the way of like I'm happy surprised. And then Hook just fucked off and like didn't contribute towards the rest of the match. So I didn't
Yeah.
know. Am I supposed to look at it as though Hook's still injured, so he just decided to get a lick in and then walk off, or is Hook still affiliated with the Ops? I wouldn't be against him being replaced by Hobbs. To be honest with you, I think those three are working really well together. But I just didn't know how to read that. I didn't understand it fully.
Yeah, to be honest, same, because then Samoa Joe was like, oh, come on, get in the ring. And Hook was like,
Yeah.
no. And he walked away. And Joe looked like confused. And they didn't
I
really,
was confused.
yeah.
We were all confused.
And they didn't touch on it on commentary, so they didn't explain it. So I think maybe it was deliberately ambiguous. Or maybe he is, like you said, maybe he is just still injured and that's what they're playing up to. I'm not sure. It wasn't, it definitely
But then
wasn't
if he
clear.
was, he should have come out with something like, I don't know,
A
a
neck
crutch
brace.
or something, yeah, to sell the fact that he's injured. So yeah, just a bit weird. Then we had Gabe Kidd coming out with the briefcase, the thumbtack EVP trigger to the mouth of Kenny, and then the Claudio swing after. I was like, bloody hell, that's brutal. And then the drop kick
Yeah,
of Utah
With the
and
thumbtacks
the
in his
bulldog
mouth.
choke. Yeah,
That made
Man's
me
was getting beaten.
really, really fucking anxious when Kenny had those thumbtacks in his mouth. Because I was thinking, if he accidentally swallows one of those, how much
Health and safety.
danger are you in then? Especially considering his history with like his diverticulitis. Like if that reaches his bowels, I was just made me really concerned.
But then the greatest running of the night was not Gabe Kidd. It was not Hook returning. The greatest thing of this match was Mark Briscoe coming out of the ambulance, bloodied, like I say, looking like the end of a horror movie. Like he's been through the walls.
He's had a good
It
2
was
hours to wash that
absolutely
blood off.
hilarious.
He's had a good 2 hours to wash that blood off, and he hasn't. He's been sitting backstage and letting it dry, get all nice and crusty.
The Death Riders were then locked in the ambulance, and that left the Bucks with Swerve and Kenny in the center of the ring, and they were on the ropes. So then we got the awesome V trigger in combination with the house call. Swerve got out the Bucks thumbtack shoes, and yeah, then we had the cool spot of we had one Buck up on the top of the ramp, one Buck in the ring with Swerve, Kenny with the one-winged angel through. It was like a gimmick table, but it was sold that he'd gone through the electrical wires. It was really cool. It was really fucking cool.
I thought it was awesome. It caught me off guard, so I was like, whoa, I was quite shocked.
Yeah. And then we had the Swerve stomp with the thumbtack shoes onto Matt Jackson for the win. And yeah, so still with the staple in his mouth. And the shot of them all on the top of the ramp leaving was just fucking epic. Yeah, I really thought the ending scene was really cool, really intelligent. The match, and it was almost like Avengers-esque, superhero-esque. It was just awesome. And then just swerving like with like his tongue with the staple, just so cool. Such a feel good moment and unexpected for us.
Yeah. I think it didn't make the Death Riders look bad necessarily. I think, like you said, with the ambulance, that it was quite a smart way of neutralizing them. And then the Bucks taking the pin. Probably, I guess if you thought that the Ops and Co were going to win, you probably guessed that one of the Bucks was going to take the pin. Yes, but I really liked the way that they did it. It was just so entertaining that you weren't really hung up on who was going to win, who's losing, like the result. I was just along for the ride and having so much fun. But yeah, I totally agree with like the finishing shot. It was so nice, so heartwarming. Actually, my favorite part was when I think it was Joe and Willow and Hobbs and maybe someone else. They were sat in front of the ambulance, and Joe was flipping everyone off. That was just chef's kiss.
Well, Joe almost getting bloody locked in the ambulance was hilarious as well. And they were like, "Joe, get out!" That was funny. He was too busy like beating him up. That was hilarious. I want to say as well the significance of Swerve in this match, him getting the pin with the mirrors with Hangman, and at this point I was like, Hangman's winning. I already was 100%, but at this point, with the predominance of Swerve and him being such an integral part in this match, I was like, Hangman is a fucking lock-in.
Yeah.
Did it make you question? Are we still like Ospreay? He's taking it home. O2 baby.
I can't remember what I thought at this point about the world title match. I don't think it made me change my mind. But it did make me. I do remember thinking, oh, that puts Swerve in very strong stead for whatever's in the future. Like that's huge.
Yeah. So, speaking of huge, what was not huge was the next match, which was just the most pointless match of the three. The Don Callis family versus the Paragon, which this has pre-show written all over. It was thrown together last minute. It's not got any stakes. Why this? The thing is, yes, you need a buffer match. You can't just go from Anarchy into the main event. I totally agree. The crowd need a breather. They need to go get the beer. They need to go have a piss break, right? Understandable. But it just was like, really?
I mean, I felt like I'd missed something. Because we didn't predict this one, did we? We didn't know this was on the card.
No, it was thrown together post like Collision.
Yeah. So the video package that they put together for it was about 15 seconds long, which speaks volumes. Like there's no story going into this. There's no reason why this is on the card. And Yes, it's the death spot on the card, isn't it? Just after the Anarchy in the Arena, before the main event. That's going to be difficult for anyone. But to put this match there was just setting them up for failure because does anyone care about this match? A, a lot of great wrestlers in it, yeah, 100%. But how can you care about this when it's had no build and it's put in that position where everyone's, like you said, gonna go have a wee, gonna go get the beater? They're coming down from what was, the most intensely chaotic match that pretty much everyone was on their feet for the entire time. It's an impossible position, really, but this match in general didn't need to exist.
Yeah, just delete it. I will say though, the Paragon at least looked unified in their matching gear, which made the Callis family stand out even more. That these are just three dudes. Callis on commentary saying he's still looking for expansion. I'm like, Callis, bro, just stop. It's
like
time to stop.
Conglomerate in the entire wrestling world.
Yeah. There's just no notes for me in this. I will say that Josh Alexander, he got a longer showing in this match. But I'm not connecting. I'm not feeling a vibe. The saving grace of this match was when the Hounds of Hell came out post match through the beatdown, and freaking Tanahashi was there, which was awesome. Like that was this match. Like just a meet and greet, a photo op of Tanahashi. At this point, they should have just had Tanahashi come out, stand in the ring, bring his little white, scruffy, crusty dog out, stand and hold the dog, and then go back. And we all would have popped and effectively had the same. Like that would have been more of a vibe. And that's a better buffer than whatever the hell this was.
I mean, yeah, I agree. It just got overshadowed. Like, that's the only thing you really remember from this match is like what happened afterwards. Brody King got quite a good pop when he came out too, but then he again was overshadowed by Tanahashi, which, I mean, fair enough. Fair enough.
You obviously put that in because you knew the match was a piece of shit. So that shows me some level of awareness. If you had to put Tanahashi in this spot, you clearly knew what you were doing, and you clearly knew this wasn't good.
So what does this mean? Like Adam Cole's aligned with Tanahashi going forward? Is that what we're doing?
Well, probably something Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
Just putting some pieces on a board. Yeah. Also, they announced Fyter Fest that they were going to have the international title tournament challenge, which is cool, but it's going to be a 4-hour special, which I was a bit like, what the hell at? That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm a bit
for free.
Not pleased about that.
You're not pleased?
4 hours is a long fucking time for an episode of. I mean, is it going to be instead of Dynamite? Like, is that it? Or
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Because
obviously, Fyter Fest has always been a TV special. Maybe it'd have a bit of an overrun as these TV specials usually do, but 4 hours. I thought it was good because I'm like, it's 4 hours of free wrestling and it's going to be a special event. But then it's also just like your schedule's so packed. You've got so much going on. They must have some big plans, or this must have been like a request of the network, or with the TV signing, maybe like, oh, you've got to do these specials or something. I don't know, but yeah, it blew me away a bit. I was like, what the hell?
Yes, I don't know how they're going to fill that, really, especially with, Olin coming up. I mean, yeah, you don't want to
put all your cards on the table, do you?
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, it's not a good opportunity to build for that, but you don't want to give away too big of matches for free when you've got that coming out.
I don't want a case of what happened last year where we had Ospreay MJF for an hour before the actual and yeah, it was still great at all in, but I still stand by the fact that I would have rather have kept that till the pay-per-view.
Yeah. Who knows? I'm not looking forward to it 'cause it's just like, It's just a work night where I'm gonna have to watch it for 4 hours, and then after work,
The
I
tournament
don't.
should be fun though.
First
It'll be
world
interesting
problem.
to see who Kenny goes against. But
Certainly, yeah.
yeah, I guess it just depends how they play it. Because the last special, to be fair, Beach Break was pretty good, and
Yeah,
they could have lengthened that out a bit more and given the cage match time more time, and it would have been
mm,
fun. But
that's
yeah,
true.
even 3 hours is a long special, and 4 hours is just
It's
it's
quite
crazy.
extortionate that. But shouldn't complain, like you say, free wrestling.
Just depends what the free wrestling is, though, isn't
Yeah.
it? Uh, so yeah, we're gonna go on to the main event now. I just want to say the entrances. I really liked how Hangman came out and it was pitch black, a bit of neon. He came out, it was very understated. In contrast to Will Ospreay, who had his monologue, the piano, the glass window on the Tron, which was reminiscent of like a church, like glass window, a very grandiose. The light shining on him in almost like a biblical way during the Osprey chants. It was a really cool visual and artistic contrast right out of the gate, and
Mm, that's
just
so
reminded you
true.
of what this story is.
That's so true. And also, Hangman had a lot of pyro, but he didn't care about it. He was just storming down to the ring, not taking any of it in. He was focused on the match and nothing else. He didn't care for all the
The pomp and circumstance and
yeah.
AEW's golden boy. That's how I read it as Osprey as the darling of the crowd, and
hmm hmm
yeah.
There was a lot of in Hangman's video package, and also like the hype package in general for the match before, which was great. By the way, loved that. There was a lot of harking back to Hangman's title reign and a lot of clips of that, and like just how different he looked, and when how happy and light he looked, and how that just helped to create a contrast for what he looks like now, and how time has just it's beating him up. Life is beating him up, and he just looks so much different now. But I thought
Well,
it's
he's a dad now. He had kids. That's
that's
what
what kids
kids
all
does
do to
to a
you.
man.
But I loved how it is. I don't know. I don't think this was like worthy detail to mention, but his hair just seemed like extra curly. I was
Yeah,
like,
it was like more brighter, like more
yeah,
like blonde, and then like with the mustache and that, it's completely changed the way he looks. He looks rough
yeah.
in a good way.
But I thought like it, like you said, is but I feel like tonight, like as in
'Cause he
like
was Will Ospreay,
when he
wasn't he?
was wrestling.
Sorry to interrupt, but he was Will Ospreay. He was
That's so
that
true.
golden boy. He's been in the shoes of Will Ospreay. That's why now he don't care. Anyway, sorry, getting too
That's all right.
excited.
No, I was just gonna say that like as in when he was wrestling, like his hair was it seemed really curly and like maybe not as shaggy as it's been recently. And I was like, oh, things are going. Maybe you're going back a little bit to what you were like before, like just a fluffy little guy.
Hair theory.
Yeah. And also,
Um,
Osprey's entrance gear was giving Bird of War. If you understand that reference,
I did not understand what is
do
Bird
a
of
real
War.
one. Always Sunny in Philadelphia reference. I'm not going to go further into it 'cause no one cares. If you don't get it, you're not going to care. But
It's such
just trust me,
a
bro.
freaking sunny Philadelphia fan that even your dog's named after one of the characters.
Okay, listen, he's not
You ride
named.
hard for your shows, like SpongeBob. Every episode, there's a SpongeBob reference.
That's
You
oh man,
you're a loyalist.
this is a
Like when
call
you
out
love
post.
something, you no. I think it's a good thing. Like it shows how loyal of a person Lucy is. Like when she loves, like Claudio Castagnoli. When Lucy loves someone, she will go to war for
I'll
them.
go to bat for my favorite wrestlers on my favorite shows. No, let me just clear something up. My dog is not named after Dennis from Always Sunny, because Dennis from Always Sunny is like a terrible person. But
I thought that was the joke.
the inspiration, yeah, came from Always Sunny. But I need for people to keep like I have a good moral compass. I just need people to understand that. That Dennis from Always Sunny is a terrible person.
Right. The
Let's
getting
move
back
on.
on track. um, I felt like there was a lot of restraint at the start of this match. It felt like at the start they really wanted to wrestle an honest match, an honourable match,
Yeah.
both of them. And it led on from that promo last week where they shared the beers and they wanted to meet each other as equals, and that carried over into the first bit of the match, I thought.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And like dodging everything that the other was doing and like trying to do, if I remember right, like a lock up and stuff. But it quite quickly broke down.
Yeah. Yeah, it did with Hangman. He caught the crossbody of Ospreay and threw him into the barricade. That to me was kind of a
Yeah.
turning point. I thought this match also had a huge match feel, which of course it was going to. I know it sounds stupid, but you're
No, it
just watching
doesn't.
something and the lights are just hitting them, and you just like have that realization of like I'm just watching two future Hall
Art.
of Famers, two absolute stars. Like I don't know, just it just had the feel.
It really did. It had big match vibes to it from the beginning. Um, yeah, 100%. And then like from that moment on, they just weren't holding anything back. Everything they did was just full on. It was very just like, okay, caution to the wind.
Yeah, Hangman, he was very amped up. He was going towards Ospreay, getting in his face, asking for the chops, um, getting all fired up. And then the match kind of slowed down as well, which favoured Hangman. It wasn't snappy, flashy, high flying. It was it was a brawl.
Yeah.
And then we had the cathartic moment of Hangman using the Angel's wings, Christopher Daniels' finisher, and then trying to use the BME, which led to a hidden blade. And I was like, the angst of that, because it's like gained Ospreay an advantage, and I was like, I hope this doesn't like discourage Hangman and he doesn't like go to a dark place thinking like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Like I let my emotions get the better of me. I found that quite angsty.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was because commentary said as well, like, oh, he shouldn't have gone for the moonsault. He should have just gone for the cover. Like that might have cost him. That's a mistake. So him trying to play homage to Christopher Daniels like nearly cost him the match because after that he got hit with the hidden blade. I do think that was definitely an intentional detail.
Yeah, which led into the style clash to the floor,
Oh, Jesus
which was
Christ.
just like, oh my God, can't
I was
believe
fearful. I
you
was
did that.
fearful for both
Yeah, but
of
you thought
them.
it's not going to happen. He'll get out of it. He'll
Yeah, for
reverse it.
sure. It just seemed
Nope.
it just seems too much of a risky spot. But no, they pulled it off. Credit to them.
Yeah, we had Ospreay's frustrations rising, kind of a subverting expectation spot where Hangman was setting up for the buckshot and Ospreay kicked him and Hangman's jaw bounced off the Spanish announce desk. Then Ospreay was ramming his head into the desk, and then there was kind of like an attempted tiger driver, but the weight of the desk caused it to fall, and then there was sort of like a haphazard dead eye, which he then repeated, which was funny because he was like, "No, I will get my dead eye in." Then Commas put this line. They were like, "Well, it's not designed to hold two people," and I was just like, "Well, it should be bloody designed to hold two people. It should be designed like that's the whole point." But
Well,
yeah,
it's
still a
difficult
great
with
spot.
a spot like that, isn't it? Because it's like, how do you? Okay, so this table's just broke. How do we not make this look fucking stupid? But I think the two wrestlers make the best out of it by like selling it. 'Cause to be fair, they with it collapsing on them, it makes it extra dangerous, really, because it just completely went wrong and they both landed totally wrong. And then
They sold
Hangman
it as
was,
a struggle, didn't they? They sold it as like the struggle, like oh, and I thought that line was good. Of they were struggling to get a move in, that's what caused it. I thought that was quite poetic.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh, just before this happened, I quite like the little detail of like Osprey was proper smacking Hangman and like going
Yeah, yeah.
ham on him, and then Rumsberg had to be like, "No, stop it." People were booing Osprey for that, which I thought was interesting because a bit later on in the match, people started booing Osprey as well. I noticed. I was like, this could be an excellent opportunity to go a little bit heel, but obviously we didn't get that, but fully. But who knows? It might be sowing the seed for something. I just thought it was interesting. People seem to take the side of Hangman in this, and really show some sympathy for him, and not appreciate Ospreay when he was being very aggressive.
I think it was since the start, wasn't it? It's like I've said all along, Osprey's hubris is his pride. And when he said in his promo, I want it more than you, I think he kind of does, but like to like his detriment.
Mm.
Like he's willing to go potentially over the line and do those types of things, like nearly doing like the Tiger Driver spot. Whereas before he
Yeah.
had kind of a more of a moral compass. It's like he's kind of losing himself in the fame because he wants to be the golden boy so bad. And then the ending had me stressing. Obviously, Hangman the two buckshots for the win. I mean, I did not at this point, even though I'd locked in that Hangman was winning, I was still stressing by the ending. But it made the ending so angsty when he was on the floor and he was covered in the confetti, and I was tearing up, girl. Like it really pulled on my heartstrings. I can't believe Ospreay made me tear up because he's just such a lad, isn't he? But
Yes.
yeah, and the handshake of respect. But my point being, you could he was just so good at showing his emotions in this match, and you really felt for Ospreay because it's almost like he's kind of going down the Hangman route of being so focused on something that it can drive you to your end.
Yeah, it like eats away at him, and it's turns into a different version of himself because he's got tunnel vision on success. That it corrupts him. Like a superhero movie, for example, like they start believing their own hype and things, and the ego gets out of control. I like the little sprinkles of that we've had so far. I think that has the potential to be really, really interesting.
And maybe that's the root of Ospreay, really, because think of where he was with the Don Callis family before in his sort of introductions to AEW before he signed, and they kind of put him over with Callis and he went
Mm.
against Kenny, and now he's kind of selling himself as I've changed, I'm a mature guy. But what if deep down at the crux of his character, that is the real Ospreay, is the prideful, wanting everything for himself. And yeah, it's all well and good when he's winning and he's at the top of and he's in the crowd's favour, but would he still hold the same moral compass and ethics if the crowd weren't behind him? And like you say, when they start booing him doing these violent spots, how is he going to respond to it? Because he's kind of MJF-esque in that it seems like he can't really handle rejection, which is
That's
really
so
interesting.
true. That's so true. Speaking of Kenny, what about when Ospreay hit the V trigger and then Hangman hit the bloody
Yes!
big pressure? Like, just loved that. Loved that. Great that commentary picked up on it and told that story too. Like the resorting to using the biggest enemy's move to try and finish it, especially when Hangman hit big pressure. I was like, no way. No way. That was like, that hit deep.
Yeah, just just absolutely brilliant. And then I said earlier, Swerve being so predominantly featured, and then seeing that graphic was so cool, like Hangman versus Moxley, and then the handshake at the end, and it's like, if I lose to you, I will be in your corner. It kind of writes itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I think that's maybe why they couldn't go full in with Ospreay being a bit of a heel. So I was thinking maybe he was going to reject the handshake. Hello, Pablo,
Yeah.
king of the podcast. Oh, look at his little
Looks like a
eyes.
little demon. Sorry, but yeah, back to wrestling.
King shit. I bet he's a big Hangman fan.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Um,
That's a great podcast episode. What would your pets wrestling alliances be?
I mean, Dennis, if he's anything like his namesake, he loves all the
I
heels.
reckon he likes the baby faces. I reckon he likes a bit of Mike Bailey.
Oh yeah, that
He's
is.
a good boy.
They've got the same energy.
Yeah. Right,
Um,
anyway, totally getting you're trying to make a point and I'm just chatting absolute shit, so
Pets are more important. It's okay. I felt like Ospreay was maybe going to reject the handshake. Like I didn't expect him to go full heel, like
yeah, it
attack
was a
him or
moment of
something.
tension.
But I thought he was going to
Yeah.
just be like no and just like walk away. But we've sown the seeds for him helping Hangman to win. I guess it wouldn't make sense to go all in on that storyline at the moment. But nonetheless, I like the little bit of tension there. Um, there's one other spot in the match that I really loved as well.
Yeah.
That I don't believe we've mentioned is when it was like a stalemate between the Hidden Blade and the Buckshot, and they were both obviously going for the respective like finisher moves, and it was just like sort of like a shootout, like who's going to hit it first, who's going to be quicker, and it ended up being Hangman who was just quicker, and he just hit epic buckshot, and Ospreay sold it really well. I love that. I've never seen that in a wrestling match before, where like they're both like, right, we're setting up for our finishers. Let's just see what's going to happen. It wasn't like out of nowhere or anything like that, but it was. I just love that. I thought that was really unique, really well done.
Yeah, because normally like, the finisher it's pulled out right when you know that you've got it in the bag. Not it's very standoffish to do it that way. As you say, perfect analogy, uh, a shootout. But yeah, I mean, this match was always going to be end on a cathartic high, which is why we thought the Death Riders were going to win. But I think Hangman winning
Yeah.
is even more of like a cathartic high. So it was just a great finish to a great match to a great pay-per-view. So yeah, I mean, with rating, it's hard because originally I was like 9.75, but now I'm like, because we've talked about some of the down points, I'm like, maybe it should be 9.5. But when I was watching it, I was like 9.75 consecutively all throughout. And I took off like, I docked the tiniest, like half a point, well, quarter of a point actually, because of the TV matches, as I called them.
Mm. It's difficult because yeah, I agree that there was low points, but I just think were they so low that they take away from the really high highs? You know, I think that Ospreay versus Hangman it's already a contender for match of the year, like
Yeah,
easily.
what was your match of the night?
I mean, it's difficult. It's a toss up. Like, there's so many good ones. Like the Mercedes versus Hayter was excellent. I loved Anarchy in the arena. I thought that was brilliant. Obviously, Hangman versus Ospreay is objectively just an absolutely brilliant wrestling match that I'm sure is going to get like 15 stars out of 5 on the Meltzer scale. Um, so it's hard. I mean, I think personally, I enjoyed the Anarchy in the arena match the most. I'm not saying that's the best match on the card, but that's the one I personally enjoyed the most.
Yeah,
How about you?
I agree. I agree
Oh,
with
really? I thought you were going to
Anarchy.
say main event.
No, I think Anarchy just takes it. It just, as we said, unapologetically itself and just yeah. But also, I want to say, I forgot to say, I really the crowd reaction to Hangman winning was so cool because I was in my bedroom like yes, and then people were literally jumping up and down in the arena. It really added to that feel good moment, and obviously Ospreay accepting the handshake. It was just so lovely because of all the darkness of the past year, and it's so poetic as well because Hangman's definitely finishing the story all in, but you know, say what you want about a Death Rider story, love or hate it, it's taken like a full year, and it's very poetic if it's ended in the South by a cowboy,
Oh
whereas
my
it
God.
started a year earlier with well, basically yeah, with Danielson picking up the title and then bringing it back to the the Blackpool Combat Club and everything that went on. It's basically been going on in a year, so for a year. So yeah.
Yeah, the payoff is going to be worth it, 100%. I hope that this is where we're going with it, that Hangman's going to be the one to finish the story. I know that people are still pessimistic that it's going to go opposite direction and Darby's still going to be the one, but I
No,
think
they've
that
set up
this kind of writes
Swerve.
itself.
They've set up Swerve, and that's so intentional because
Yeah,
Hangman's winning it, and the Swerve stuff, not much is really going to happen. I do think if they do decide to do the numbers game, which I think they're going to do because Ospreay is going to play into it, and all these people are going to play into it, and Hangman is going to have earned the respect of everyone, and
yeah,
he's going to get his moment in the sun. But I think that first Dynamite back, Swerve is going to walk into that building and be like, right, let's have you. And as I
yeah.
said, that is leading to a Swerve heel turn, guys.
Mm,
It's happening. It's happening. I'm
Man, you were
manifesting.
right. You were so right. I was so convinced that Ospreay was going to win. And like I said on the last episode, I wanted
You
Hangman
were
to
feeling
win this.
patriotic
I was
for
apparently
the O2.
so. Apparently so. I really thought that Ospreay had it in the bag, but like I wanted Hangman to win because I appreciate that your idea was better. But I just thought that the Ospreay one was more obvious, so I thought that's where we were going. I'm so
The
glad to be
marketing
wrong.
brain. It's the marketing brain.
Yeah,
You were
exactly.
thinking of
Exactly.
how can we sell the tickets for the O2? How can we get Will Ospreay on Good Morning Britain and
Yeah.
Lorraine? That's where your mind was.
Literally. But I guess we've got a long time before All In. I mean, Forbidden Door and All In as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Like it's all very far apart.
So much can happen.
Yeah, so Osprey's still going to be main star probably of Forbidden Door, so who knows? But yeah, the little part of me was a bit salty that I was wrong and you were so right. But I think it's going to be. I think it's excellent. I think that you're right. I think your point about like the long termness of it is right. I hope. I hope it is because it sounds excellent. I'm here for it. So. Oh, but we still haven't decided on a rating, by the way.
I'm happy to go with 9.75. I don't know where you're
Yeah,
at
I
if you want
think
to lower it
so.
a bit.
I think so because I just think that the highs were so high that like I don't think that the minuses.
And we are docking it. We are docking it.
Yeah,
We're being fair.
they're docking it, but they're not by much.
No.
I think that's rational.
It was just such a fun pay-per-view. Like it just was fun
It was feel good.
and chaotic and feel good and violent, which is the best combination.
Yeah, so true. And did you notice Excalibur ending the night with the line of AEW is the
Oh
home
yeah.
of professional wrestling? It's like, oh, that's a
Yes.
bold statement.
Yes, which was fucking awesome. But I also love it's not a dream denied, it's a dream delayed that he said about
Oh,
Osprey.
yeah, I
I
love that.
loved that line. And yes, when he was like, this is the home of professional wrestling. And then later at the press conference, I saw the clip of someone asking Tony Khan about the aggressive crossover promotion that certain companies have been doing against AEW. And he was so giddy. He was like, yep, I've noticed it. But it was a bit different from the past because he almost seemed like excited by like the competition, like, we're being acknowledged and
It means you're
but
doing something right.
it made me feel very patriotic towards AEW because the way he was like, well, I haven't seen as aggressive of a crossover promotion since Davy Crockett Promotions, but let's just say it's not going to end the same way. I was like, oh, parody that, and then also like Excalibur dropping the line, and it just like was a feel good night to be an AEW fan for sure.
Totally. I've seen some stuff on X where people basically, well, I think WWE had a pay-per-view this weekend too,
Yes,
and
they
some
did.
people have been like, well, how can you choose? I don't want to turn this into a tribal thing, but I have seen some people being like, well, how can you choose WWE after that? I just think that the essence of Double or Nothing was, like you say, like sort of patriotism to AEW. It encapsulated what AEW is all about. It's about pro wrestling. It's about a bit of everything. It's a variety show. It's got something for every taste. But at its core, it's about quality wrestling. And if that's what you want, you're not going to get it anywhere else.
Yeah, and it's like we as AEW fans online get enough shit that it's not tribalistic, but I'm not putting anyone down by saying I love this company and I love this promotion. And I was like feeling quite inspired. And I was thinking about the podcast and I was like, and also the thing you were talking about, the Moxley book and him saying wrestling is where the fans are. And we're here every week and we talk about AEW.
Mhm.
And without us, and by us, we are a microcosm. Without us, and without the people online, and the people on Reddit, and even the people on Twitter, right, and the
Mhm.
people buying tickets, without the crowd making the fuss, because that's what we're doing is making a fuss, a small fuss, but still a fuss.
Mm.
That is the essence, is the fanfare, and it is a bit of a cult, as
Mhm.
all wrestling fans of promotions are, but it just made me so proud and it made me like so inspired to want to come on here and talk and keep talking about AEW and keep pushing out the message because I really believe in it. I really believe in everyone on the roster and I just love it so much. And it's cheesy, but like I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Me too. It makes me happy because I feel like it's just kept my passion as a wrestling fan alive. Like I look, yeah, like independent shows and stuff. Yeah, you can go to them, but just being able to, like weekly free television, just watching some of the best wrestlers in the world, just go at it on TV. Just how lucky are we to be in a position where there is genuine competition to WWE. We're in this position where it's serious and it's going really well, and it's proper quality stuff, and you've got an alternative. That's what it's about, and it is a very good, viable competition that genuinely is alternative. It's not trying to be WWE. It's something different, and it's proud of being different, and that makes me proud to be a fan.
And sometimes it's hard rooting for the underdog because they're the underdog. But in moments like this, it's like, it's such a feel good moment to root for the underdog, and Forbidden Door can't come fast enough, quite frankly. I cannot wait.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Very exciting. Yeah, have we got anything else to add? I guess that's
That's it.
review.
That's it. That's the posy note we'll end on.
9.75, a strong score. Let us know either in the comments or by, you can tweet me or whatever if you're listening on Spotify what you think about our rating. Do you agree? Would you give it a full 10 out of 10 maybe? Yeah, let us know what you thought of the pay-per-view. And yeah, let's have some debates in the comments. Let's see your opinions. If you watching and listening for the first time, do give us a follow / subscribe. Leave a like, leave a rating. Really helps us out. We really appreciate everyone for listening to us waffle a bit for however long this is going to end up being. Pay-per-views always end up
maybe
being
just
a bit
under
longer.
2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
as always, thank you very much, and we'll see you next week for actually this week for another Dynamite review. So thank you for listening.
Yeah, can't wait to see the fallout. Thank you.
I must bid you adieu, goodbye, and good night, bad.
I wish you died in the womb!